everybody.
It is good to be back here with you. I am Chrissy.
And I'm Muffy. And like Chrissy said, so great to see you guys.
Yes. So, you may remember how this goes. We're going to start with a Bible verse. We have a new Bible verse.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. It's from Philippians. And so, this Bible verse really speaks to me, Muffy.
It does to me too. I'm glad to hear you say
yes. So I hope it speaks to you all too. Yes. I'm going to read the Bible verse and then I'll tell you why it speaks to me and then we can say it again in unison.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. So this is from Philippians and it is, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
And we have needed strength this last year.
I agree, we have. Year and a half.
Oh my.
I know. It's longer than we think.
It is. But we've been given strength.
We have been. You're right.
So, okay. So I really like that verse. I hope you like it too. All right. Well, let's say it all together in unison. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So we are strong.
That's right. Show us your muscles, everybody. We are strong, and we'll persevere, and we'll get through this.
We will.
With God's help, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So prayer is a very good thing.
Prayer is a great thing.
All right. Well, we are, excuse me.
We forgot our little visual.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of time, this is how the church tells time, our church calendar. And we are in the season after Epiphany. It runs 7 weeks. It started January 6th, and it will run through March 2nd, which is Ash Wednesday. So, during this time, the gospel lessons tell us stories that let us know that Jesus is the Son of God. For example, one of the stories is the Epiphany, where the Magi, or wise men, came and visited Jesus and brought him gifts for a king.
Oh, that's right. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Yes. That's not just a usual story that happens when a baby's born.
No, not at all. And there are other stories too. And Muffy is going to tell us one of them.
Yes. Okay, so the story I'm going to tell you today is the gospel lesson, which is the wedding at Cana of Galilee. And what happened was there was a big wedding that was going on, and Jesus was invited, his mother Mary was invited, and the disciples were invited along with a lot of other people. And so when they were there at the wedding, someone said to Mary, "We don't have any more wine. We have run out of wine." And that's something that they used to really celebrate with back in Jesus's day. And of course we do too, but it was something that was a staple at weddings. And so she said to Jesus, "They have run out of wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and me? My hour has not yet come." But then his mother said to those who were waiting at the tables, and they said, "Just do whatever he says." So now standing there were 6 huge stone jars for the Jewish rites of purification, and each were holding 30 gallons. And so Jesus said to the servants to please take these empty jars and to fill them with water and fill it to the brim, he said, so up to the tippy top. And then he said, and then after they did that, he said to them, "Now take some out and take it to the caterer," who was the head person that was managing the party. So they took it, and the caterer tasted that the water had become wine. And he did not know where it came from, though the servers knew where it had come from. The caterer called the bridegroom over and said to him, "Usually everyone serves the good wine first, And then the inferior wine, after all the guests have drunk too much and have become intoxicated. But you have kept the good wine until now. And this was one of Jesus's very first signs that he did in Cana of Galilee. And it revealed his glory, and his disciples and the servants and those who worked the party believed in Jesus. And of course, so did Mary. And so then in a few minutes, I have got some questions about this reading, and we're going to ask Father AJ. So hang on, we'll be right back. Well, everybody, here we are back again with Father AJ.
Don't we just love all of the excitement that comes with living in the year 2022?
We sure do.
And 2021 and 2020.
Right, absolutely.
We do.
Well, anyway, so, we just discussed the sermon, the gospel. We just did the gospel reading about the wedding at Cana.
I know, that's a fabulous story.
It is. I've got some questions, though. And so I thought during this little section, I would ask Father AJ the questions that I had about the sermon, because I just didn't understand some things. And I don't know, maybe y'all understood it, but if you didn't, maybe my questions will be helpful for you. And if you have some questions you want me to ask Father AJ about today's gospel, or in the ones that we do in the future, get your parents or one adult in your house to send me an email, and we will ask Father AJ, because that's the thing I've learned, is that if you've got a question about Jesus, our minister, AJ, Father AJ is the man to ask.
Right. And I'll go and find someone smarter than me, and I'll ask them.
I bet that rarely happens.
It happens all the time. We all, but that is true. We all have questions. No matter how old we are, or how much we know, or how much we've read, there's always something that we may not fully understand, or someone may have an insight because of what has happened to them in their life, or some conversation that they've had with someone else. So we can always learn. So it's always good and important to ask questions.
I agree. And I hope you guys do too. Okay, so I've got two questions today. So here's my first question. All right, so listening to the story, and it seemed to me that Jesus was a little bit rude to his mother Mary when he said, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." Yeah. I'm kind of confused about that, because I wouldn't have said that to my mother.
Yes. Yeah. That there's so much you bring up. Let's just say I'm so glad you asked that question.
Oh, good. I feel good then. I was afraid that
No,
it might be.
Never be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. Questions are always welcome. But there's a lot to that. So one thing that we can remember is that language changes.
Right.
Words are constantly changing. There was a time when it was good to be bad. You remember that? The word bad, if someone was bad,
right,
it was not desired. But then it became slang to say, "Oh, he's bad."
Right, like
you remember
he's
that?
cool.
Which meant he was cool,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So language always changes. So in this particular story, when you hear Jesus saying, "Woman, what concern is that to me?" Sometimes our ears in the year 2022 may hear that as being a mean thing to say, a disrespectful thing to say, right? Like, "Woman?"
Yeah, right.
But that's not how it was in the original text.
Oh, okay.
That they're recording. So when Jesus says, instead of us repeating it as "woman,"
right,
it's probably better to think of it as Jesus saying "mom."
Okay. Okay, I totally understand.
It's a term. It's not a term of derision or disrespect. It's really a way. It's just a way of saying person.
Okay.
It's not meant to be disrespectful.
So really, he was like, "Mom, what is that concern to you and me?"
Right. Basically, this is all. We're in the season of Epiphany, which is a season where the identity of Jesus makes manifest God's reality.
Right.
And so, part of what Jesus is saying here is, it's not the right time for me to reveal God's glory incarnate, made flesh in me. Now's not the time for that.
Okay.
It's not quite time yet. To which Mary says, I think it is.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that she was indicating, that it was okay, because then she says to the caterers or to the people who are working the party,
do
whatever he says.
Right. She knows what he's going to do before he knows what he's going to do, which is the case for a lot of moms.
I was just getting ready to say, my mom is like that.
Mm-hmm.
She totally knows what I'm going to do before I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the times.
Right. So it reminds us in this, one of the things that it kind of reminds us is that Jesus is fully divine.
Mm-hmm.
He can turn water into wine. That's something reserved for God. It's sped up like that.
Right.
But he's also fully human. He has a mother.
Right.
And he responds to his mother in the ways, just like many children, even adult children, respond to their mothers.
Right. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I hope that helps clear it up a little.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Because I knew, I thought my mother would no more have me call her woman than fly to the moon.
Right.
Right. She would have said, she would have given me the what for. So that makes me feel much better. Okay, so now I do have one more question, and that was, at the end of the party, why did the caterer say to the bridegroom, everyone serves the good wine first and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk, but you have kept the good wine until now? I really don't understand what that means, because I've never really heard of somebody serving the good wine first and then pulling out the not good stuff at the end. Because when we have a party, when we entertain people, we use the same beverages.
The whole time.
The whole time, yeah.
Right. Well, it may help to remember that 2,000 years ago, they didn't go to Costco and buy bottles of wine that had labels on them.
Right.
The wine you couldn't tell where it was coming from. Think of it if you've been to a restaurant where they just pour iced tea out of a plain pitcher.
Right.
So you don't know if it's really expensive brand of iced tea or.
Right.
So in the ancient Near East, when they went to a wedding, and weddings lasted days.
Oh wow, what fun!
Yeah, sounds like a good wedding.
It does,
so,
yeah.
So they would not be. You wouldn't know where the wine, what type of wine, or if they changed wines. And since some wine, just like today, I imagine, costs this much, and some wine costs this much.
Right.
The practice was to serve the really expensive wine first.
Okay.
So everyone remembers that. It's like, whoa, they serve such expensive wine at that wedding.
Right.
But then later on into the days, they may switch to the wine that costs this much.
Gotcha.
And they were able to buy a lot more of that.
Okay.
So that's what the steward is saying.
Okay.
When he says, this is not the way it's usually done.
Right.
What he's saying, one, is this wine that Jesus turned into wine from the water is really exceptional wine. So Jesus performed this first sign of God's glory working through him. And it's not just a little bit of glory. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's not just a one bottle of wine, because they were saying they had huge jugs of
So
it.
it's quantity of wine, 6 30-gallon barrels.
Yeah, that's a lot
So
of
it's
wine.
a quantity of wine, but also a quality of wine.
Yeah.
So that both of those things says something important about not only Jesus's power, but about it says something about God's glory, God's grace manifested in Jesus. And what it says is that this grace of God is abundant, right? 30 gallons.
Yeah.
It's a surprise. This isn't the way it's usually done.
Yeah.
For this to come at the end of the feast, And it's a delight because wine gladdens our hearts.
Right.
So in this first sign, we see just how surprising, how delightful, and how abundant God's grace is.
Okay. Awesome. I like that. Thank you.
I hope that
That's
helps.
perfect. Yeah, no, it helps a lot. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And so you all, if you all had heard something that you have a question about, I didn't ask your question, like I said, shoot me an email and we'll get Father A to ask us to answer it next week. And so stay tuned till next week when we have more sermon discussion with Father AJ.
Yes.
All righty.
That sounds great. Thank you for your question.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, that was very nice.
Oh, well, no, wasn't that great? I like
Yes.
having Father AJ's
Yes.
to answer those questions. You know?
Yes.
I think it's real important. You know, so as we said, if you all have questions, email them to me or Chrissy. We can ask Father AJ.
Yes.
Because, you know, we need to keep him on his toes, right?
So speaking of questions, here are some questions that you can think about during the coming week and speak with your family about, or even your friends.
Yeah.
So these tie into the story that Muffy just told us. So Mary knew it was time for Jesus' miracle, even though he was not sure at first. She encouraged him to use his talents to help others. So who encourages you to use your talents?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there could be all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Maybe teachers.
Yeah. People who get you to try things that you wouldn't otherwise try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
So,
yeah.
so think about
Yeah,
that.
think about who those people are.
And if you have a chance to encourage someone else to use their talents,
Oh, very
That
good.
would
Yes, absolutely.
be something you could do.
Yeah.
So, and Jesus performed a miracle by turning the water into wine. Who realized Jesus performed a miracle?
Hmm.
Who knew that he had done
Can
it?
y'all remember? Let's see. I would definitely say Mary, his mother, knew.
Yes.
She knew.
I guess, well, the caterer had to know because he tasted it.
Absolutely. And the servers, actually, they knew because they filled up the jugs with the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I bet a lot of people didn't know.
Oh, yeah. If I was just a person at a wedding, I wouldn't have known. No. So I think the regular attenders didn't know, but the people who are watching Jesus, they knew. I bet the disciples knew too.
Oh, I
don't
bet
you
they
think?
did. Yes. So I wonder what the people who did witness the miracle have in common.
Ooh, that's a good question. I bet they knew that Jesus was something special, don't y'all think? I mean, they saw him turn water into wine.
That's not something I can do.
Me either. That's amazing. So they would know that he was amazing. And I bet too, like if I knew somebody was amazing, I would kind of want to keep my eye out on that person, you know, to see what else they were up to maybe. You
And
know?
share.
Yes, to
Share
share
with
to share
other
with you.
people.
Have you
Yes.
seen Jesus? Did you know what he did at the wedding?
Yes.
It was incredible. Haven't we all done that? Oh my gosh, did you like the snow? Did you see the snow last week?
Right.
Oh my gosh, that was so incredible. Did we play in it? Yes. What did y'all build? Blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
So,
When
yeah.
things are exciting, you want to share them.
Yeah, absolutely. The same enthusiasm.
So Jesus didn't tell anyone about his miracle, but of course some people did witness it.
Yeah.
During the season after Epiphany, we focus on revealing God's work in the world. What kind of work or acts can we do for others? And can we do them quietly and without much attention, like Jesus did?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Because a lot of times we know people, sometimes we want to do things and we want to be acknowledged for it. So we want to say, hey, guess what I did?
Right. But you know, I believe it's in Matthew, it does say that you should do things quietly and not call attention to yourself, but call attention, give the praise to your Father in heaven.
Yeah, that
You
is
want to give glory to him
right.
and not yourself.
Because God gave you the power and the will to do those things.
Yes.
And also too, it's not very good to be a braggart at times.
No.
People get sick of you when you say, look how great I am. You're like, oh, we don't want to hear about what she has to say anymore.
But you can say how great Jesus is.
Yes, guess what Jesus empowered me to do?
Yes. So think about some things that you can do throughout the week without calling attention to yourself. Just quiet, secret little things that help people.
Absolutely. And I bet people will notice.
When you run out of something like soap or toilet paper, your family may have a backup supply, or maybe you don't. How is it replaced? Next time you run out of something, like they ran out of wine at the wedding, thank God for the people who keep your home supplied with what you need.
Absolutely. Woo!
So
we couldn't do without our grocery list, that's for sure, to always remind us what to get at the store.
yes. So we want to, and you know, that's something people do. They go to the store and they bring things home and they fix dinner for people.
Yeah.
And they don't call attention to themselves.
That's
you just
right.
do it. But it
Put
helps people.
A new bar of soap in the shower and a new roll of toilet paper on the toilet roll. Thank goodness for those people.
Yes. So there are things that we can think about and do during the coming week.
Yeah, have fun talking with your family about it.
So those are some activities, and I think you have another activity to help us think.
Yeah, we've got a fun little activity that you can do with your family at home. You can divide up into teams, or if there's not that many of you, you can just all be one team together. And so what we want you to think about was that filling the 6 stone jars from this story was no easy task. Each jar held about 30 gallons of water. That means and you had 6 jars of 30 gallons. That was 180 gallons of water. I mean, can you imagine? That is an enormous amount of water, or juice, or whatever you want.
Yeah, like think about a jug of milk.
Yeah, a jug of milk. That's just 1 gallon. So you think about 180 of those gallons. And they weren't easy to carry either. So the people who were in charge with them, what they had to do is they had to refill them and use smaller containers, to fill them up a little bit at a time. And so this is really interesting. Did you know that 1 gallon of water, so 1 big jug of milk, weighs 8 pounds 34 ounces? So 180 gallons of water times 8.34 pounds is 501.2 pounds. Isn't that amazing? So that's a lot of work. So this is funny. They say that it's like carrying 6 giant pandas. Chrissy could carry 6 giant pandas or 150 cats. So just imagine that that's how much it would be. Crazy, isn't it? So anyway, this is a funny game that what they want you to do is you're basically got either 6 bowls or 6 cups, and you get a line, make an imaginary line, or you can put down with a line on your floor with masking tape or painter's tape, and you want to give yourself some distance, and you want to get 6 bowls or 6 cups. I mean, depending on how many people there are in your family who are going to play this game, right? You could do, 1 cup or whatever. And so what you want to do is you want to get something light, like either, since we've just had Christmas, we might have some, craft little pom-pom balls, or maybe like a little tiny Nerf ball or ping pong balls, whatever, something light so that when you throw it, it's not going to break anything, right? And so you're going to have the distance, and you are going to pitch these little things into the bowl first, and then pitch it into the cup next. And what you just basically want to do is rapid fire these little pom-poms or whatever in there to see how many you can get in at a time. And you can use a timer, like a 1-minute timer or something like that, to kind of see. So anyway, it's just kind of fun to see how many you can get in. So that's just kind of the that's the gist of the game. And also too, they were saying if you're really good at it, then you might try to again, I'm right-handed, so I would be using my right hand, using my non-dominant hand, my left hand, and see how good I do it that way. So anyway, just a fun little game for y'all to try while you're at home, in between thawing out from the snow, hopefully. And then Chrissy and I are going to say our closing prayer. And so what we're going to do is, a prayer is, if you can remember from before, is like a gift. And so what we want you to do is open up your hands like you're receiving the gift. And when we say after we say the prayer, take the gift and put it into your heart. So here we go.
Miraculous God, you spoke the universe into existence and turned water molecules into wine. Your loving hospitality knows no bounds. Teach us to use what we already have to create spaces of welcome, hospitality, and love for all. Amen.
All right, everybody, y'all have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next week. We're going to be here through January, and then we're going to sort of reassess the COVID situation and see if we're going to be here through some more in February. So anyway, have a great week, everybody. I hope it snows and y'all have fun playing in the snow.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.